We are back. Our guest by phone, former Speaker of the House and presidential candidate, Newt Gingrich.
Newt, so you
It was
would
great to be with you guys.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
so you would immediately terminate Obamacare, as it's known as. What about this? What about the Supreme Court? Do you think they'll have anything positive to say about Obamacare?
Well, they may. I mean, there's a very real possibility that they're going to find that it is, that the mandate is unconstitutional. But that by itself doesn't eliminate all the other bad aspects of Obamacare. I think you've got to recognize that they built into the law a lot of different really bad things. And so I think you've got to plan for repealing the whole thing through the Congress. And that's why the Gingrich campaign is also committed to working with the House and Senate candidates. We need to win a victory across the whole system so that we have control of the Senate and we increase our strength in the House so we can pass very dramatic change in the first week so we can get this economy growing again and get people put back to work and get us back on the right track.
Mr. Speaker, how is your 21st century contract with America different than the president's, and I quote, job bill?
Well, the president's job bill is a joke. I mean, the president consulted no one. It would have no effect on the private sector that's positive. It basically is a smaller version of his failed stimulus package, which totally failed. This is the longest, deepest recession. I would say it's a small depression, frankly, since the Great Depression. We have now been in bad economic times in terms of unemployment for about 46 months. The average for a recession since World War II was 10 months. Ronald Reagan took over a bad economy from Jimmy Carter, and within 18 months he had turned it around. And in September of 1983, exactly the same as last month under Obama, the American people created 1,100,000 new jobs because Reagan was doing the right things. He had 4 goals: cut taxes, cut regulations, develop American energy, and instead of class warfare, Reagan praised people who created jobs. Now, Obama's wrong on all 4. He's against American energy. He is for higher taxes. He's for more regulations. And he's engaged in a tax warfare, which is killing job creation in America.
You made an interesting comment at the debate that if we got our house in order, China couldn't compete with us in a million years. Are we in a competition?
Well, that's exactly right.
Yeah. Are we in a competition and don't even know it?
Well, no. I mean, anybody who's looked around knows we're in a competition with the Chinese. It's just we're not competing. We refuse to reform our school systems. You look at L.A. Unified, it's a disaster. It exists for the purpose of protecting mediocre teachers and the structure of the union, not educating the children of Los Angeles. You look at our tax laws, they're anti-manufacturing, anti-development, anti-science. You look at the regulatory system of the Environmental Protection Agency or the Food and Drug Administration. They kill jobs in America. It's the American government which is crippling us in this process. So I think we have a lot of work to do, and I think we need to recognize how hard it's going to be and go out and do it, roll up our sleeves. I tell people I don't ask anybody to be for me, because if they're for me, they're just going to go out and they're going to vote for me, go home and say, I sure hope he fixes it. Well, no one person can change America as much as we need for it to be changed. We need to have a team, and I ask people to be with me so that together we're in a position to go out and work together for 8 years to turn the country around. I think we can do it. I think it is a big deal, and I think that it's very, very important that we work together to get our country back on the right track. Whatever your background, I want to put together a coalition of people, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, who want America to have a better future.
We're having a conversation with presidential candidate Newt Gingrich. Well, you know, it's interesting talking about China. I noticed something in the news this morning that Putin is close to supplying natural gas to China. And
well, I don't blame the Russians. The Russians have more natural resources than they have population. They need markets. The Chinese have money. They need resources. That doesn't affect me. If the United States developed its own natural resources on the scale that we could, we would not be importing a single penny of foreign oil or foreign gas, and we would, in fact, be exporting to a lot of places because we have the largest energy supply in the world.
Well, you said no one person can make the country better, but we sure have one person that's making it a lot worse right now. Everything this man touches has turned, negative.
How about the puppy chow?
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I think President Obama deserves a lot of blame, but the fact is we have been on a long slide towards bad bureaucracy, bad law, judges who don't respect the Constitution, people who don't understand what we need to be doing. Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid had a lot to do with this, but it's been a long process of building up big, mediocre bureaucracies that don't get the job done. And Obama simply is sort of the last great stage where he combines radicalism with incompetence in a formula that nobody could have imagined.
So, Mr. Speaker, what made you decide to run for the President of the United States at this time?
I think this is the most important election since 1860. I think that in 152 years we have not been this challenged in terms of the very nature of America. And I believe that we need somebody who knows what we need to do, knows how to explain it, has solutions big enough to be effective, and has a track record of getting it done. I'm the only person in the race who effectively passed a major entitlement reform, welfare. 2 out of 3 people went back to work or went to school. I'm the only person in the race who effectively balanced the federal budget for 4 straight years, paid off $405 billion in debt. I'm the only person in the race who has effectively developed a national majority for the first time in 40 years and helped to get reelected for the first time since 1928. I've been studying national security with the Army and the Department of Defense since 1979, and I was the longest-serving teacher in the senior military for 23 years. And I think, I have a sense of what America needs to do. I have very, very fine friends who are running for president. They're all good people, but none of them have the practical, down-to-earth experience of what I did with Ronald Reagan in the 80s and what I did as Speaker in the 90s, and that's taking very large ideas, turning them into very clear solutions, communicating them very effectively, and then actually getting them done in Washington.
Mr. Speaker, I think you'd make a fantastic president. I really, really do. You made an interesting comment at the debate the other night about Senator Dodd and Congressman Frank, about the 2 of them ending up in jail.
They'll be in jail.
Or be in jail. It's interesting. Here you've got 2 gentlemen that are partially responsible for the housing meltdown, and now they're killing small banks. I mean, what? There's no sanity to this. I mean, I agree with you.
I spoke as strongly as I did because I'm tired of the left talking about this person or that person, the next person, always happen to be in the private sector, and they skip past the people who are the real problems. It was the act passed under Jimmy Carter, which led to banks being distorted in terms of who they loan money to. It was all the effort by Chris Dodd and by Barney Frank to dramatically increase government intervention in housing and government intervention in banking. To have these guys write a bill that was supposedly a reform bill verges on the bizarre. And if you go back and you look at what they were doing, in Frank's case, it was totally inappropriate trying to get a job from an agency he was supposed to be supervising. In the case of Dodd, he was taking mortgages from a company in a way that was totally selective. I mean, these guys were, in Dodd's case, he was engaged in profiting from the very practices that he later on attacked. Now, there's something really, I think, sick about a culture in which we skip past the people who caused the problem to blame somebody who didn't cause the problem.
That seems to be the standard with the Democratic Party, doesn't it?
Yep. It is, the whole process of the modern Democratic Party has been just amazingly destructive.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I certainly hope that you're in this for the long haul because I finally have a candidate that I can support and do my part to help you get elected.
Well, we'd love to have your help, and anybody who's listening can go to my first name, Newt.org, and sign up. We'd be very grateful if they went to Newt.org to sign up. That's also where they can see the 21st Century Contract with America, and I'm very delighted to have this chance to chat with you and to talk about the things we need to do get America back on the right track.
Mr. Speaker, I would love to have you on another time, and I tell you what, one of the questions I would love to talk to you about one day is one of your books on Gettysburg, the what-if scenario. There's all kinds of questions I have for you, but I would love to take a history class from you sometime in the future.
Listen, I should tell you, we have a new novel coming out called The Crater, which is an actual history. It's not an alternative history. It's an actual history of one of the most interesting battles of the Civil War, the largest use of African-American troops in the Virginia campaign, and a fascinating, fascinating tale. It comes out next month called The Crater. Bill Fortune and I, it's one of the things we do as a hobby is write novels and sort of relaxes our minds. Well, anyway, it's wonderful talking to you guys, and maybe at some point down the road we could just spend a little bit of time talking about what-if history. You know, imagine, for example, if Obama were to get reelected and go even further to the left and the economy were to get even worse. Now, there's a what-if you don't want to have happen.
Oh, exactly. Boy. You talk about a disaster. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and lots of luck in the coming months.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk 1180.